What is up there, everybody? Sea of Red Sports here with yet another video, and today we are here with our Week 15 Top 10 teams. It has been quite a while since I've done one of these with Red River Aviation, who is on the show today. We actually recorded, this is our third week in a row we've recorded, and we unfortunately didn't get up the last two episodes, so I'm really
I do
sorry.
have an idea. I got an idea.
Yo, yeah.
Why don't you combine 13 and 14, just upload them, just to prove it?
Alright, so we'll do that. Alright, episodes 13 and 14, they'll be up along with this one. And we'll put these together. We'll put them together in this video. I'll probably have these come out at the same time. So episode week 13, 14, and week 15 will come out at the same time. You'll get to hear some of our thoughts on some of those teams that we're going to talk about this week. Mostly I will be raging and making fun of the Wisconsin Badgers, because that's what we do as Husker fans. But good to have Red River Aviation back for this week, and we're doing our Week 15 Top 10. And it was an interesting week in college football. Mostly the favorites won. There was one big upset, and that was Coastal Carolina upsetting BYU in what was maybe one of the best games all year. I know. A game that was put together in like 5 minutes managed to be a really good game. Very good. We are actually having some really good Group of 5 action, which I'm very happy with. Cincinnati's really good. Coastal's good. Marshall they were good.
I pulled an oopsie.
Yeah, just a small oopsie against Rice.
Yeah, just a little one. Just a little.
Yep. And then BYU's good this year as well. So, yeah, let's get started and talk about it. As you can probably tell, our top 4... Actually, I'll just put up our top 7. They are almost unchanged from last week. You didn't change yours. I just moved.
They've been about that way the last, 3 or 4 weeks,
yeah,
pretty much?
Last 2
Ever
or 3
since
weeks.
Clemson lost Notre Dame, they've pretty much been the same.
Yeah. And at this point, the playoff is set. And I'm just going to quickly talk about the playoff scenarios, because there's only a few. And that is A, the teams that are favored win out. And we'll just have the top 4. We'll have Alabama 1. Clemson would probably be 2, Ohio State 3, Notre Dame 4, and we'd have a playoff there. The only other scenarios that we could have...
Florida could win.
Yeah, the only other scenarios are Notre Dame beats Clemson twice, which would put Texas A&M in, because the playoff committee...
Oh my god, I would lose it if they got in.
The playoff committee somehow has Texas A&M at 5. But, yeah, they would get in then, in that scenario. The only other scenario that could happen is Florida beats Alabama, in which case Florida and Alabama get in. Both would guarantee to get in. And then the winner of Clemson, Notre Dame, and the ACC title gets in.
The only other stupid thing that could happen is if Texas A&M, for whatever reason, lost one of their games and like Cincinnati got up there to 5 or something, but unlikely.
Yeah, unfortunately, as much as I hate to say it, Cincinnati's not making the playoffs this year. I wanted them to, but they're not going to. So, the top 7 is pretty much set. There's not really much we can say about them. We've always said that in week 13, 14, which we'll put out as a video. Come out same time as this one. Number 8, we both have Iowa State.
I recommend, if you'd like to, not to have spoiler alerts, because we will mention some stuff to watch the week 13 and 14, because we're going to have a little discussion about Citrus's previous outtake on Iowa State. But I will let him say what he needs to get out first about his I would say a kind of an interesting decision for this jump. They've been here for me, if you guys are curious. They've been up here at they were 9 last week for me after the win versus Texas.
Yeah, so I was at first not so sure about Iowa State because obviously I follow the program very closely, and they were kind of having an almost Nebraska-ish thing where they would make mistakes, which was not what a top 10 team does. But I first started to raise my eyebrows once they blanked Kansas State. And then they did beat Texas, which is like, okay, they're legit. But then they came out and destroyed West Virginia this week. And I'm like, okay, so now
West Virginia's good, guys. They're not
West
bad.
Virginia's not terrible. They're a borderline top 25 team. And Iowa State destroyed them. What was the score on that one? Was it 42 to 6? Okay,
That's
yeah.
correct.
All right. And So the problem that I see with a lot of teams that are borderline top 10 is often they can have 1 or 2 good weeks, but they can't string them together. They can't string the excellent performances together. Frankly, a lot of top 10 teams struggle with that too, but
Iowa State's had 3 in a row, in my opinion.
yeah, Iowa State's now had 3 in a row excellent performances, and that's enough for me to call Iowa State as a legit top 10 team. So that's why I jumped them. I wasn't so sore on them. I was kind of resolved on jumping them up, but now that I'm pretty confident what they're doing, they're also playing really clean football. They're not getting many, if any, penalties. You're seeing excellent execution by the offensive line. They have this running back who's incredible. Bruce Hall, excellent. And
guys, in 10 games, he's ran for 1,400 yards.
I know, that's insane. He is, other than the Harris guy from Alabama, this guy actually has the best numbers of any running back in the Power 5, which is amazing. So, Iowa State, number 8. I have them just above Oklahoma, who I have at number 9, just simply because they won the matchup, the head-to-head. And Oklahoma is playing actually pretty well here.
I will have a nice little discussion about that when I get an opportunity to talk about those guys.
Yeah, and we also have the week 13, 14 discussion about them too.
No kidding.
Yes, the 20-minute rant.
After Bedlam, I went on. I think I went on a solid 7 or 8 minute speech about my guys.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so I think now it's a good time to start number 9 through 10 and the teams we considered, because there's some discussion here. You have Miami at 9. I'm not really too impressed Miami because they beat this lesser division school 48-0. I wonder what other team beat somebody by 48-0 and then lost the following week. I can't think of who that might be.
Yeah, me either. Tough times.
Yeah. Anyway, there's not really much that you can gain for that game, so I still have Miami outside my top 10 because I'm still not quite sold on them. Indiana I have just outside top 10 because they did play a good game with their backup quarterback against Wisconsin. Although Wisconsin's not that good this year, as I said in my week.
Defense played outstanding, though. You got to give them that.
Yeah, I mean, in my week 14 rant, though, I did mention that they were 2-1 at the time, and they lost to the only good team. You can't do that and claim to be a top 10 team. And now they're 2-2, definitely not a top 10 team. In fact, I wouldn't even rank them at this point because they have a really good defense. That's a surprise to nobody. But they just haven't been able to put it up on offense. Now, Grant Mertz, yes, he had some good stuff to start the season. But when he actually played decent defenses, he showed that he really is a freshman. That he really, doesn't have the experience of some of the other.
He's looking like Spencer Rattler in September.
But they also do say that Lincoln Riley is the quarterback whisperer. He could literally make you a 5-star quarterback, I bet.
It's QBU. What are you talking about? Obviously, it is.
Fact, yeah. And then, of course, we had the game of the week, Coastal Carolina versus BYU. We both have rewarded Coastal Carolina for what is the best season in program history and the only 4th season in the Power 5. Their only 4th season in the
Harris
FBS.
Highlights made a great video on it. I highly recommend checking it out if you'd like to.
We'll link it down here somewhere so you guys can watch it. Very good video if you want to know the history of Coastal. But wow, they've been impressive. And they did beat an excellent BYU team. And so we just put BYU just outside our top 10. But
you got to give it to Coastal Carolina. Their defense, man, I was beyond impressed.
Mm-hmm.
That BYU offense is is it top 10? I thought it was.
Yeah, it
top
was.
20,
it was.
I think.
In fact, it was top 5 for.
Yeah, I thought they had both top 5 offense and defense. I thought I heard that somewhere, but I may be wrong.
They were number 4 in scoring defense, and I think 5th in total offense. In scoring offense.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Impressive. Okay, I'll go over my rankings just a little bit here. Miami, obviously, it's 48-0 versus Duke is not the biggest thing to be impressive by, but like we've talked about the whole year, due to my system, just progressively moving up. So I didn't feel like they should be consequented for how they won. So Indiana got an awesome win versus Wisconsin. They really had to grind it out with the backup quarterback. Still a good win. They're still really good, obviously, a quarterback down, but finding a way to adapt and beating a team that has a really good defense is impressive. I got the Sooners at number 11 this week. Our winner over Baylor was definitely not crazy exciting. Baylor does still have a really decent defense, despite the fact that Charlie Brewer is not playing like the 2019 Charlie Brewer. Sorry, and of course it was a struggle bus, but we did play a solid defense. Offense got to execute a little better. It was quite a pitiful performance. I'm very impressed with the defense. Charlie Brewer and that offense is not awful. Kansas State's defense doesn't look like anything anymore after giving up 70 to the Longhorns, but they still put up 35 on Kansas State. So, yeah, I was impressed with the defense, but the offense we got to do better. Now, instead of having a 7 o'clock kick versus West Virginia, we have a pondering potential cancellation in the West Virginia game that's now at 11 o'clock. I've watched a couple videos, and the game may get canceled just for a variety of reasons. I know the ACC called off some games because Clemson and Notre Dame, I think, are guaranteed now in the conference championship. Can't confirm. But since Iowa State and Oklahoma are confirmed in the Big 12 championship, amen on that one. I don't know if the Big 12 will decide to call it off completely or not. Honestly, if I was OU, I would really try to not obviously try to win, but, don't get players hurt and all kinds of stuff. Obviously this is kind of a throwaway year, but I still want the A&M rematch in the Cotton Bowl because I know we would thump them. So that's my goal right now. But, pretty much don't look ahead. Don't get an embarrassing loss going into the conference championship game. If we do get to play this game, we still have to play well and go beat a good West Virginia team. Iowa State coming up in a couple weeks. It's going to be a great game. Both defenses that are at their peaks. Both offenses have OU's has kind of been in mixed spots as of recent, but pretty much for the most part good. And then Iowa State's has been pretty gosh dang good, obviously, with all the points they've put up. So it's going to be a matchup, guys. It's going to be a really good one. As long as there's no COVID issues or injuries or anything along that nature, it's going to be probably by far the best Big 12 championship game we've had since, I want to say the last good game was it 2010 versus Nebraska, ironically. I think that was the last really good one. Yeah, that was the last. So it was, I need the full article here. 23-20 in regulation. That is correct. And this game, let's see if there's anything that says about it. It doesn't say anything like crazy about it here on the wiki, but long story short, it was a great win for Oklahoma, from what it appears to be. That was back when your boy Bo was still the coach.
Yeah. Yeah. Bo Pelini, by the way, looks like he'll get fired at LSU pretty soon. So.
God, I forgot he was still coaching. That's right, he is over there at where is it at? Still over there at LSU.
Yeah. Well, he left Nebraska after the 2014 season and coached at Brigham Young University for I think it was 3 seasons. And then he left Brigham Young on his own because the team was just not playing to their potential. They were just quitting.
Who would have guessed?
And then he has gotten hired once again by LSU to have the former position that he had on the 2007 national championship team.
LOL.
Oh, by the way, fun fact, do you know that 2010 season, Nebraska played Texas A&M in the penalty bowl of the year?
I remember that.
That was the game that there were only field goals scored.
LOL.
Yeah, Texas A&M won 9-6. Nebraska had 145 yards in penalties.
That's OU every game right now.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, all dumb penalties.
Anyways, the correlation that I was getting at with the championship game is it's going to be another good one and the best one since then. Obviously, OU as of recent. The Texas Big 12 championship game was pretty good, and obviously the Baylor one as well. But this one's going to be even better between the Cyclones and the Sooners. As of right now, just check and see if they have anything crazy. It will be December 19th. I'm really excited to see that game. And then I have Georgia. We both have Georgia at 12. Their game versus Vanderbilt, I think.
Yeah, that one got canceled.
Yeah, that would have been a win anyway, so that's
I
not
really
really
would
a
have
huge
liked to
deal.
have seen, though, what this Georgia team could have done when they play all 4 phases at
True,
their
very
potential.
true.
Because they do now have an actual quarterback in JT Daniels. The problem is that the only 2 weeks he's played, other parts of the team have decided to let him down. So I really want to see what a full potential Georgia team could look like, because that is scary. A Georgia team do what they can do. You don't want to
With a
play with them.
quarterback, that's correct. Yeah, Georgia's going to look good. They had a game this week. I clicked off it on accident. They got Missouri. That should be a win. No problem should be
That's a
had there.
rescheduled game from, I believe, week 4 or 5.
Yeah, it was like 5. And then I got Coastal Carolina at 13. Like I said earlier, Harris Highlights made a great video on their run and impressive way. They only have 3 days to prepare and get a huge win versus BYU. Really solidifies how good of a program they are turning into. They've obviously always been at least average, but really turning it on this year, and I'm super excited to see what they're going to do moving forward into upcoming years to come, and hopefully normal ones. And then I will now let Citrus talk about Northwestern.
All right, Big Ten's my specialty. So, Pat Fitzgerald has this team going from 2008, they were first in Big Ten West. 2019, last in the Big Ten West. 2020, they are back on top once again, number 1 in the Big Ten West. This guy turns 2 stars and makes them into 4 stars. Once again, he runs a fairly simple pro-style defense and offense. Makes it very easy for the players to learn. And it's not as complicated as trying to run an RPO or a high-tempo offense. Just
Or
ask
spread.
Yeah,
That's right.
just ask Penn State and Nebraska how that's been going for them this year. Not so well. But he's just able to run really solid football, and he's been able to use some other things as motivation for the players this year. Harris Highlights, the same guy we mentioned, did a really good video on Northwestern, too, if you want to watch that. That was really good.
It was.
Absolutely. And, of course, he has also been able to use the transfer portal to his advantage, getting the former Indiana quarterback, which is a big deal for them. He was actually the starter before he got injured in the 2019 season, and the backup for Indiana played, who is the starter this year before he's gotten injured now. So, yeah, if you don't want to get injured as quarterback, don't go to Indiana. That's my suggestion. But they have been able to put up some points. I'll just say some. It's better than last year. It's like double what they were doing last year. I know. That's how horrible they are. They were scoring an average, I believe, was 13 points a game last year. Anyway, they've been pitiful on offense this year, but still better. And of course, the defense has been outstanding, and they can play close with basically anybody. And they did lose to Michigan State, which of course is a little bit of a blight on their resume. But Michigan State has basically solved as the wrecking ball in the Big Ten this year, so we'll see if they ruin anybody else's season. They weren't able to get it done against Ohio State, so I definitely got to give Ohio State props for that. And Northwestern, they just generally look pretty decent. I'd like to see them play in the Big Ten title game. It looks like with the Big Ten decided they're going to amend the rules to allow Ohio State to play in the Big Ten title game. You Big Ten cheaters. Anyway.
Yeah.
We'll get to see the Northwestern-Ohio State matchup after all. I think that would have been a lot more interesting than Northwestern-Indiana anyway. And we'll probably end up seeing at the number 2 position Iowa and Indiana, which I think could be a really good game. No rematch there, fortunately. With that being said, before we close out the video, do you want to talk about some of the really interesting title game matchups that we have? Because we pretty much know every title game except for the Pac-12,
right.
which is a complete mess.
Okay, so yeah, real quick, BYU still played well. Tough to see. Rest in peace. Northwestern, same evaluation. They're still good, and hopefully they're able to play. We'll have to see. Everybody's having issues.
Yep.
All right, let's start with the...
Northwestern did not get to play this weekend because of Minnesota. You guys suck.
Okay, so that puts us on to... let's start with the big game, and that's going to be Notre Dame versus Clemson. 2 versus 3 by the... the playoff committee.
Yeah.
That's correct. Both offenses are electrifying. 46 for Clemson, 38 for Notre Dame, and both defenses, 18 for Clemson, 17 for Notre Dame. The big difference, man, is going to be Trevor Lawrence being able to play in this game. At least that's what we know for now. Obviously, Clemson's much more of a passing offense, averaging 350 a game, and Notre Dame has an awesome balance for 239 through the air, 235 on the ground. And both defenses pretty gushing exceptional for today's standards. 300 yards allowed by Clemson, 200 yards through the air, 100 yards on the ground. Meanwhile, Notre Dame, 214 yards through the air and roughly 100 yards averaged given up on the ground. So really looking at this, it's going to be very difficult because obviously Notre Dame's pass defense is very solid, but versus a great offense with Trevor Lawrence, and then you got Rodgers and all of his playmakers and Eisenstein and all those guys, they're still going to light you up through the air. So that's going to be something to definitely watch out for. And the backup quarterback almost got it done, but we're not able to do it.
And Uy Ungale, he's going to be a great quarterback for Clemson. They're probably going to win a championship under him.
Notre Dame, for their offense, I really feel like the key for Notre Dame is going to have to be to find a way to still have balance and blend. That's what they were able to do in the first game, which was why they were able to win the first game, was running for 140 yards and passing for 310. But, I mean, Clemson's backup quarterback got 400 yards. So it really just comes down to how is the Clemson defense going to play? Because I really do see the Notre Dame offense giving up points. Now, the Clemson defense, I don't know. It's going to be a great story to see. Sorry, the internet has officially died. But it's going to be a great story to see. I'm really eager to see it. Obviously, both teams are going to be taking off the upcoming week to prepare for the matchup. So I think it's fair to say the defense will be better for Clemson this time because they will have had more time for the players to rest. That's kind of what I was thinking. So it's going to be a great game. Don't get me wrong. But as of right now, I'm just slightly leaning towards Clemson.
I like Clemson as well. I would probably say 45-42. Clemson over Notre Dame.
Something like that. High 30s or early 40s, something like that. I agreed.
Yep.
Okay, so next up, the next big one, Alabama, Florida. Both teams, I think both teams have a game. I know Alabama has Arkansas here, so we'll see what the SEC decides to do. Now, looking at this matchup, this is two of the best offenses, just like the last matchup, but this takes it to another level, in my opinion. Two of the best offenses in college football. Alabama, 9-0, 49 points per game. That's incredible. And then Florida, 42. Now, here's a big difference. Points allowed, Alabama, 18, Florida, 25. Slightly better than what it was, but that's still not great. Both offenses over 500 yards of offense. And obviously, another big key significant difference. Florida has 376 yards through the air, but only 126 on the ground. Meanwhile, Alabama's a little more balanced, 361 in the air, 187 on the ground. And defenses statistically, surprisingly, actually are very close. Alabama giving up 357 yards per game, 240 through the air, 116 on the ground. Meanwhile, Florida with 381, 242 through the air, 138 on the ground. There's going to be points. It's pretty obvious from the stats that Alabama's defense hasn't been quite as impressive yardage-wise, but if they can get stops, that's what's going to win them the game. Obviously, they've had these blowout wins as of recent, but they still typically, versus these average offenses, have given up roughly 10 to 17 points. And we're talking about a good offense now. Alabama has really not played a crazy great offense. And they still gave up 48 to Ole Miss, which is a decent offense, but not to the caliber of Florida. So I really see this game being big-time points. I really do. I could see this game getting potentially, if the defenses really collapse, into the 50s.
This could be a 100-point game.
Easily. Yeah,
definitely
no
bet the over on this game.
It's going to be 7 Eastern time. No, that's Central time. I'm sorry. So 8 Eastern time. Stupid ads. Just quit.
Jeez, Najee Harris has 1,000 yards rushing. Wow.
Yeah, man, he's grinding. 20 touchdowns. You can't forget about that. And Pierce is the first guy up for Florida, but he only has 417 yards.
Yeah. Now he
So
has
really,
been out with an injury for a couple weeks, so there's also that.
Yeah. So what I think comes down to this game is I really feel like it's going to be a close game in the third quarter, but I feel like this Alabama run game is going to be able to take off in the fourth quarter and really grind this out for Alabama. I'm calling like I'm going to go with the average. I'm going to go with 49-42. I really feel like that's going to be our result here of the game. I feel like Alabama's going to be able to finish it off late, but I really do see a lot of points in this game, which is very uncharacteristic.
Yeah, I also agree. If Devontae Smith does not finish as one of the top 5 Heisman finalists, I'm going to be disappointed. 1,305 yards.
Deserves it.
I know it's obviously the quarterback game to win the Heisman, but really, they should at least recognize some other positions and make it a chance that somebody else can win.
I mean, if they recognize guys like D.D. Westbrook and multiple other receivers that have been up there, I think, did Corey Davis or somebody get in there one year? I forgot.
Yes.
Somebody did.
And there was another Alabama running back a few years ago who also made it in. I don't remember. But somebody else.
One of them won it.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Was Derrick Henry won it.
2014?
15, I thought.
Okay. Yeah, it was somewhere in there. It was one of those Bama teams that was really good and did win the championship that year. But yeah, they've got some real weapons of offense. So does Florida. But two things go Bama's way. First, experience. And the second thing that I really like is their defense. Because with lightning offenses like both teams have, you have to find something that favors one side or the other. And defense is it for Alabama. They have some good defenders this year. They have 3 guys who have over 50 tackles, which is really good. Dylan Moses has turned out to be pretty good, as has Christian Harris. And Jordan Battle. Watch out for those 3 guys. They could be really good, and I think they'll end up...
And they could hold Florida to 30 or 35, but I do see Florida definitely... What I was saying was, I could definitely see Florida or Alabama's defense, holding Florida to 30 or 35 points, but I do see Florida getting into the 40s if the game gets that high, which I would think it would in this case.
So I think that the line for this game should be about 10 points, and I like Alabama to win by 10 points, so I'm going to call it 48-38. Alabama wins.
All right, that will put us on to... We already briefly discussed Iowa State, Oklahoma. Do we want to give just a little brief talk about that?
We'll just give our score prediction. How about that?
Okay, I'll go first. I would like to go first if possible. This is going to be a great game, man. The defenses are really good, and just from analyzing it, I really do feel like it's going to be a defensive game. I really do. The first game got into the 30s. I really don't think it's going to be able to get back to the 30s with how these defenses are playing right now. I do think the offense are going to get their fair share of points. I'm going to have to dive into the stats real quick right here because I kind of need to look at them. I need to see how good Iowa State's defense is because I have not seen them.
Yeah, go ahead. While you look that up, I'll give my prediction because I have 1 or 2 paths I think this game is going to go. First off, I guarantee you that Oklahoma is going to come for revenge. That's what they want more than anything else. They want revenge on that loss to Iowa State. They want to clinch their first title in 100 years. And Matt Campbell knows that if he doesn't do it this team, it's going to take a while before it happens again. So, what this is either going to be, is this going to be a low-scoring brawl? Probably, in that case, I like Iowa State to win. And I would pick Iowa State to win, I'd say, 30-27. It's going to be a close game either way. The other option is that Oklahoma comes out for revenge, and we see a game that looks similar to the Alabama-LSU game that just played. And there are players on the Alabama team who came back this year just so they could beat up on LSU. And we saw Alabama not take their foot off the brake the entire game. They kept pounding it the entire time. They beat LSU 55-17. We could see something like that similar happen here with Oklahoma, Iowa State, but it would be a high-scoring game. So in that case, I would actually like Oklahoma to win 48-27. 48-37 over the Iowa State Cyclones.
Yeah, I don't. I like that Iowa State defense too much. I know this is kind of crazy for me to say, but I do think Iowa State's going to be able to just really depending on how momentum starts, like you said, who gets the ball first and who gets the first 3 and out type deal, like who gets the first stop. All these little things are going to factor in. But having players like Rodney Perkins and Ramondre Stevenson back is really going to be big. If we're at full health, if we got Nick Benito and our full secondary and all of our guys, I really do like the game to be close. A really, really good game. I'm honestly kind of unsure of how this game's going to go. Probably need another week to think about it. Iowa State does average 10 less points than Oklahoma, so that's something to keep in mind that this Oklahoma offense, I would say, not recently for Iowa State, but maybe has slightly more firepower. I think that's one to agree on. And Iowa State does run the ball better, of course, but obviously OU's run the fence. It's one of the top in the nation at 88 yards average. And then 234 yards through the air is honestly not bad. Their defense statistically is better than Iowa State's. So that is something to keep in mind.
Okay.
So from the brief analyst that I've took here, as of right now, I'm not trying to be biased, but just from the brief stats that we've looked with the one loss already, I really do like Oklahoma to come out firing and find a way to win this game. It's going to be somewhere in the range, I believe, of 34-27, give or take on either side. So like the offense slightly more for OU, and then as of right now with how the defenses have played, I really do like the OU defense slightly more. However, both of them are really, really good.
Yeah, I would agree. And if I had to actually pick which of my two scenarios I'd actually think is more likely to happen, I actually think Oklahoma winning 48-37 is actually more likely, in my opinion. Because we're actually going to see, I think, a lot of factors outside of the game itself be a determining factor. So how much does Oklahoma really want that revenge over Iowa State? And if they want it really bad and they come playing really hard for it, it's going to get ugly, and it's going to look really bad to be a Cyclone fan that day. So I actually kind of do like Oklahoma to run away with the win.
Okay, so that will put us to the Big Ten championship, which as of right now, it's going to be Ohio State Northwestern, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so Ohio State, I do like the Buckeyes and what they have been doing despite having so many games that they haven't been able to play. Believe it or not, only 2, but it still feels like 5. Yeah, they've played well the whole year, there's no doubt about it, despite the fact that their defense has gave up over 25 in 3 of the 5 games, and they look best versus Michigan State this week. They need to go out there and I would say pretty much thump Michigan just to help their cause and go into the game with momentum. Northwestern's problem is the offense. It's pretty obvious that the Ohio State defense has been able to shut down offenses that can't do both, the run and pass. Ohio State's been able to shut down offenses that are one-dimensional, and that's exactly what Northwestern is to a degree. But honestly, they've struggled with both significantly. So I do like Ohio State. I do see the Buckeyes able to get some points on the board and start doing their thing. I really do like Ohio State in the game. I'm going to go with about 35-17. I really do like that score. I feel like the Buckeyes will get a significant amount of points, but aren't going to be able to completely run away with it till the fourth quarter.
Alrighty, with that being said, I'll get started with my predictions for Ohio State Northwestern. I really like the Buckeyes to win. I don't really see any way Northwestern can win unless it is much like the game against Indiana, where Ohio State turns the ball over a lot, gives Northwestern short fields, allows them to put points that way. In which case, Northwestern would have to score 40 to win, which I just don't see happening. With that being said, I really love this Justin Fields-led offense. He has been incredibly effective, particularly with his receivers, which, let me find those. with Garrett Nelson and Chris Olave. I'm kind of surprised. Garrett Wilson. I'm kind of surprised that Garrett Wilson actually has better stats than Chris Olave, considering that Chris Olave is a senior this year and is really expected to do big things. But that does give them a lot of balance. So that's good for them. And they will be also good with the rushing attack. Don't forget about them, because they have gone the rushing game into gear in recently with Trey Sermon and Justin Fields, actually the third highest rusher. And then, of course, don't forget Master Teague. That guy is incredible. He can find holes where they don't exist. He is a true master. So I like Ohio State to win, and to win big. Probably not the same score that they put up against Michigan State, because the defense for Northwestern is pretty decent, and they also have a decent rushing attack with Isaiah Bowser. He is not the leading rusher because he was out for half the games, but he is really good. And of course, Drake Anderson. So I like Ohio State to win 42-17 over Northwestern. And we are not going to predict the Pac-12 yet, because who knows what's happening in the Pac-12. We have no idea. The entire conference is on crack and sinking themselves upside down. So, with that being said, I want to thank you all so much for watching the video. Thank you to Red River Aviation for joining us. Do you have any parting words for the great fans out there?
Thank you very much for having me on the show once again. The year's gone quick, and I can't believe it's almost over.
I know, right? It's been a great, if not unique, season. So,
that's right.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for watching. 2020 has made the job of ranking the teams very difficult. But with that being said, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day. God bless.